Konami Studios.
Brave New World. Now, here is a show that I think aired on Peacock come August. Sadly, here in Canada, we don't have Peacock because, streaming rights and stuff. I don't know. But it aired here finally. 9 episodes. It was canceled. So that should tell you enough that you need to know about the show. But if not, let me say this. Imagine a world, the perfect society, if you will, where instead of feeling emotions or having ideas of love and romance and just any feeling whatsoever of creativity, of anger, of sadness, we suppressed all of our biological urges and took a little pill that stopped us from feeling anything. That's Brave New World. And then what happens in that world if you leave Britain, pretty much, go to America, pretty much, pick up Han Solo, pretty much, bring him back to Britain, pretty much, and now everything collapses into chaos, pretty much. That's Brave New World. It is the weirdest, most dumb show I've seen in a while. The premise is ridiculous to me. I understand the book, though. The book is from Aldous Huxley, and it's like an old 30s book. It's like from the 30s. I understand during that time how you could write this book and be like, yeah, this is what the future should be like. Emotions and shit are bad. But in 2020, it just comes across as everything that we see troped in modern storytelling. It gives off similar vibes to something like Black Mirror, Westworld, or Upload. All things which I liked more than this. It's just such a dumb concept to me. I guess maybe because I'm such like a free thinker, I like my individuality. I don't like the idea of being the idea of sharing everything with everyone. There should be secrets. We should be allowed to keep things from people and experience our biological needs. That is something that should exist. So the concept of this, well, it makes for good science fiction. It's just so weird to see that that's where the society would go, because I don't believe that's where society would go. That's why it's science fiction, I guess. Why am I complaining? It's science fiction. None of it matters. It's solid. It's not a bad series. The story itself, the idea that we bring this man named John from the Savage Lands, and he comes to this new world where he has never experienced what they do, and the idea that because he's different and because he's allowing himself to have these feelings of lust and greed and hate and sorrow, that he destroys the systematic existence that is this new London. And it's kind of an interesting idea in that regard. My problem is it's not executed great, and it's kind of weird. First off, I do think the set design is incredible. There's production behind this, and you could tell this was one of the things I think Peacock wanted to have as their staple. This was going to be like their flagship title. This was going to be their Westworld. Sadly, it isn't, because everything else about it is just a little too weird. First off, the premise, like I said, I understand it for the 30s, but because we are in 2020, your audience is going to want more from you than just a bunch of random sex times having big orgies. That's not compelling enough. That's not going to make it interesting enough. Your lead characters, too, there's a lot of lack of interest there. Nothing against the actors. It's all in the characters themselves. We build up one character in particular, Bernard, who, to be something, come later in the season, he's not that thing, and it starts to become this different idea that doesn't really work for what we've seen from him to begin with. The character of Lenina Crown is another one I have problems with, just because with her, and actually with most of these characters, except for John, and we'll get into John in a bit, with most of these characters that we know from New London, the emotional beats that they are trying to go for when those emotional beats are supposed to happen, they feel unearned. And that's a really big problem with this. It's that I understand it. If you have been a grown person, if you're 20 years old and you've never felt an emotion before, and suddenly you are thrust into this world where you have to feel these things for the first time, I understand how that can be hard. The problem is they feel very unearned for the character and for what the story's saying, and it's more like a plot device to move the story forward than an actual thing that the character needed. And you know what? For something that's 9 episodes long, it feels very filler. There's a lot of it that I think you could skip around and not do, because the story itself doesn't have a lot going for it. It's solid enough, but there's nothing really there to keep you invested in this. You can probably figure out the plot pretty easily. It's pretty much just like a status thing. It's just about status pretty much. And that's something that I really don't like about shows like this. I mean, I'm a big fan of science fiction. That's like one of the staples of this channel. Look at the stuff around me. I love science fiction. I don't like when everything has to become a metaphor for society or for existence or for status or for love or for emotion. Like, not everything needs to mean something when it comes to the things you do. But it feels like every little beat that this show does, everything is trying to say there's a meaning behind it or it's supposed to be something else. Like the way there's a status symbol, the way the colors work, the way you suppress your emotions, the way you don't feel things about love. The idea of love here is really weird and a really mixed metaphor because I can't tell if it's being like love is good or love is bad. Now, I don't know. I am aware that Grant Morrison, one of the best comic book writers of all time, developed this show. So he's definitely a very big ideas person. So I see how his influence could have maybe directed things to be less than clear and linear and more like it's all up in the air, man. Nothing is for sure. I get that. And it just hurts the show because you don't really know what you're supposed to care about except for Alden Ehrenreich's character of John. He's the only thing in this show that to me is clear enough that I'm like, you're actually something that's worth talking about. You're actually something that's worth following. And you're not doing a really, really good job of the acting. I love Alden Ehrenreich. I really like him. I really like him a lot. I don't want to say he was sleepwalking through this series, because I don't think he was. I think he was given a lot to do acting-wise. I just don't think the way he did those things worked particularly great. The guy can play snarky and attitude and confident, but when it comes to the anger, I don't think he's there yet. Now, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a guy who's an actor, so I can't tell you if that's something that should be explored more or not, but that's just what I felt when I was watching it. I liked it for the most part. He did an alright job. I do think he was the best of them all. Hannah John Kamen did pretty good too. I think her character was probably the most compelling just because I think she was like, oh, I get it. It's like a dystopian future. It's kind of Tron, Blade Runner-y. We're not trying to be a metaphor. We're just all having sex and partying. I think she's like there and she got it. Everything else is just random and weird nonsense, if I'm being honest with you guys. It's hard to say that I'd recommend this because I don't think I would. There's just a good idea in there somewhere. In the 1930s, I could see how this book was like, yep, perfect, great, let's go. But it doesn't live up to things we've seen in the same genre before. This idea that we're supposed to, it doesn't explicitly say robotic, but the idea is that we're losing the part of humanity that makes us human, and then we kind of become robotic in that sense. That's all of Westworld. That's just Westworld. I'm sorry. That's just what it is. But I think overall, it's a satisfying enough piece where you could be like, oh, I could watch the next episode. But you're also going to be like, oh, it was canceled? I get it. You know, it's kind of just in between there being something that's prolific and metaphorical and this high to society piece that you're gonna, it's not Watchmen and it's not Lovecraft Country. I'll put it that way too. Those are two properties that came out recently. It's not either of those. And it makes me wonder, what else does Peacock have up their sleeve? Because they put money behind this. You could see the money behind this. And you could see the set production was there. The gore was there when there was that. It was rated R. There was a lot of sex. What other properties does Peacock have that could potentially be this good? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So my final thoughts when it comes to Brave New World is you don't need to watch it. The acting is fine. The story is fine. Maybe read the book if that's what you want to go to, but it's nothing you haven't seen before, and it's not going to be as creative or smart as it wants itself to be. So overall, I'm going to give Brave New World Season 1 a 5 out of 10. Now, thank you guys so much for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, all that good stuff, and I will catch you in the next one. Have fun, stay safe, good luck.